The dream started about a month ago. I've racked my brain to come up with something that could have triggered it, but everything was ordinary. My life was going wonderfully. I had just gotten a promotion, moved into a new apartment. My relationship had never been better. Nothing was wrong. Nothing was out of sorts. I've never had particularly vivid dreams. Usually, I can't even remember them when I wake up. But this was totally different. I was exhausted that day. I'd had multiple meetings at work and had only just gotten home that night. I fell asleep as soon as my head hit the pillow, and then I was there, in my dream world, lifting my head. Only, it wasn't a dream world. You know, when you dream, and everything has that languid, dreamlike quality, like there's a haze over everything, and no matter how hard you squint, you can't make anything out clearly. And the way one implausible thing flows into the next implausible thing, and no matter how hard you try to think, you can't remember why that wouldn't make sense in the waking world. This wasn't like that at all. It was hazy, but a familiar haze. The haze of my old apartment, the one I shared with him. It was hazy because the only light coming in was filtered through the tiny basement window, the one that hadn't been cleaned in years. Dust particles floated in the air and settled around me. I pushed back the sheets to discover that I was dressed in jeans and a t-shirt which I had sweat through during the night. The sheets were not the fern-printed satin ones I had picked out for my new apartment. They were the old flannel gray ones. The t-shirt was not one of my own, but one of his. One I remembered sanctimoniously burning after I had left. What was going on? I thought. Why am I here? Then, I spotted my phone tangled up in the gray sheets beside me. The screen was shattered. I picked it up and unlocked it. 11:45 a.m., March 3rd, 2021. How could it be? The last time I had been in that apartment, those sheets, that t-shirt, was late 2016. That is when I had gotten out and as far away as possible. There was no way I could have woken up and been back there again. The room was tinted gray, but the dull tinge was so familiar. I tried everything I could to wake myself out of this dream. I stared at my hands, which were still mine, still human, but with bruises on the knuckles. I flipped on and off all of the light switches, shorting out a few bulbs. Everything was the way it should be. I wasn't in a dream. I was in something very real. I started to panic and ran to the basement door in its maze of locks and tried to get out, but it wouldn't budge more than a few centimeters. I could see the brassy weight of the padlock through the crack of the door. I opened the mini fridge in the room. Nothing but spoiled milk and Bud Light. I frantically unlocked my phone and scrolled through the recent texts. My mom, him, some names I didn't even recognize. I tried to call my mom, but it went straight to voicemail. I waited for the beep. "Please tell me what year it is," I said flatly and hung up. I tried to check social media, the news, anything, but I couldn't connect to the internet. Finally, I called him. The phone rang 5 times. my heart clenched with each ring. "Zoe, I'm at work," he said. I winced at the sound of his voice. I tried to talk, but the inside of my mouth tasted tinny and rotten. "What's going on?" I whispered. "I'll be back tonight. Maybe we'll go for a drive." The phone clicked as he hung up. I threw myself on the bed, sobbing and sobbing. I was trapped here. I burrowed my face into the gray sheets, which smelled of sweat and mothballs, and wept until I must have drifted back off to sleep. I woke up with a jolt. To my relief, I saw the familiar fern-printed sheets when I looked down around me. Early morning light was streaming in, hitting the plants on my windowsill, illuminating a small patch of ferns on the bed. Kevin was asleep, wistfully next to me. I thought gratefully of how gentle and kind he was. I was back in my sanctuary. I was not in my old life anymore. I went about my day and tried to forget about it, but I was shaken. I felt shell-shocked going into my office, looking around at my files. The framed picture on my desk of me and Kevin. I vowed never to take any of this for granted. Still, I could not shake off the gray haze of that dream. I went to sleep tentatively that night. I read some of the book I'd gotten out of the library. I dabbed lavender essence oil on my temples. Eventually, I drifted off. I woke up in the same tangle of gray sheets again. Wisps of hair were pasted to my face. It was dark this time. No light came in through the window. I unlocked my phone and scrolled through it again. 11:52 p.m., March 4th, 2021, it said. "Where are you? I had texted him 30 minutes ago. You said you'd be home at 9. I had written 10 minutes later. I saw there was a voicemail from my mom. I didn't bother listening to it. Just called her straight back. She answered right away. 'Mom?' I gasped. 'Is it you?' 'Honey, you're really worrying me,' she said. 'Have you been taking something?' 'Mom, I think I'm stuck in a bad dream,' I said. 'Please tell me what's going on. What year is it?' 2021, she answered. 'I thought I left this place in 2016. What the hell happened?' 'You were gonna,' she said. 'But you said you couldn't afford your own apartment. You didn't want to quit your job here. He promised he would change. He was gonna get help. You know, the usual shtick.' 'That's not possible,' I said. Just then, I heard the heavy padlock clank from outside, and my nervous system was on fire. 'Mom, I have to go,' I said. I ran to the bathroom, locking the door behind me. I rifled through the bathroom cabinet to find something that would knock me out, fast. I needed to escape to my real life. I went through the little orange bottles. They rattled like little maracas as they fell to the floor. The best I could find was lorazepam. I popped 5 into my mouth. He was banging on the door, and I could see it warp. I felt myself falling, and then I jolted awake again. I looked for the ferns on the sheets. They were there. Kevin was snoring. I burst into tears. How could I still be so trapped? Why did I have to mentally go back there? Every night is the same. I put my head on the pillow in this life. I wake up in that one. Sometimes he's out drinking. Sometimes he's banging on the door. I tried calling all the contacts in that phone, and they all say the same thing. It's 2021. I never left him. I never got out of that apartment. I simply surrendered to that life. At this point, I don't know which life is the one that is truly happening. I'm living them both, and each day I become more exhausted. I fear each night that he'll get closer. He'll get in my face, and I'll be trapped in that life forever. The life in which I never left, and everything stayed the same. Please, I've tried everything, and I just needed to stop.